This conference will now be recorded.
Hello, I'm Kevin Jones. I'm the chairman of the Capacity Building Committee within the Audiovisual Reference Group, and I'm very pleased to be able to share this report with my colleagues within the group. The objective of our task group was to explore how best to support mentorship, film training, technical skills, film literacy and appreciation, and to explore how TVET colleges can evolve into centres of audiovisual specialisation. Although I'm presenting this report, it's not something that I worked on alone, and I really want to acknowledge the work done by Ntombi Makwetu, Firdose Bulbulia, Eva Beckman, Isabel Rourke, Tracy Clayton, Millie Takalani Maludzi, and Faith Isiak Perry. Also joining us fairly late in the process was Pinky Tuswa, and I think the contribution of all of these people needs to be acknowledged. We're in a situation where, in broad terms, one of the first questions that we asked was, who is it that's responsible for addressing the challenge of building capacity in the audiovisual industry? And the answer that we came up with was that actually this is a challenge that everybody needs to embrace. This is not something that is government's responsibility alone. We need to engage with organised industry. We need to engage with training providers. We need to engage with civil society. We need to work with employers. And it's the combined input of all of these stakeholders that will allow us to address the challenges that we're facing within our industry. We kicked off our project by looking at the academic landscape in South Africa and recognising that all training providers working in South Africa, as well as bodies responsible for assessing competence, need to be registered with SAQA or a SAQA affiliated council. So at school level, certainly for primary and secondary education, we need to work very closely with Umalusi, which is the Quality Council for the primary and secondary education sector. Universities and colleges that are working and awarding degrees and diplomas fall under the control of the Council for Higher Education. People involved in delivering vocational training programs fall under the QCTO, the Quality Council for Trades and Occupations, generally working in partnership with the SETA, the Sector Education Training Authority. And then finally, professional development programs are run under the auspices of SACIA, who are the SAQA recognised professional body for the audiovisual sector. From there, we really looked at the different kind of issues that were important, particularly what happens at every level of education. And we started off by looking at schools. So there are 24,000 public schools in South Africa and 6,500 private schools in South Africa. Education is compulsory from the age of 7 through to the age of 15, with scholars in grades 10 through 12 able to choose between an academic, a technical, or a vocational learning pathway. Scholars following an academic path will complete their schooling with a National Senior Certificate, but school leavers following a technical path will complete their schooling with a technical certificate or an N3, and school leavers following a vocational path will complete their studies with a National Certificate Vocational. It's also known as an NCV. So approved subjects for the NCV include design studies, visual arts, performing arts, cultural studies, music, sport, film, television, and video. So there is absolutely an alternative learning pathway for scholars interested in film and television production, and this allows students to articulate into a higher education institute for further study. Scholars following a technical or an academic path have a limited ability to study film and television whilst they're at school. There are several schools that include a film club as an extracurricular activity, but this doesn't provide formal recognition of competence. The great news is that on the 30th of November this year, so just over a week ago, Basic Education Minister Angie Motshekga published a curriculum development policy document which indicated her intention to include new subjects that could be taught at school levels during in grades 7 and 8. So very excited about that. In 2016, there were 26 public higher education institutions, 123 registered private higher education institutions, and 50 technical and vocational education and training colleges, or TVET colleges. More than half of the students enrolled in public higher education institutes or universities in 2016 were women. And so actually there seems to be a fair level of equity or equality in kind of the gender ratios at universities. 58% in fact women and 42% men. Almost 50 of these universities and colleges offer a degree or a diploma in the audiovisual sector. These higher education institutes are located in every province throughout the country. Many of the students enrolled in formal study, however, are first generation students who are not able to rely on their parents or extended family for guidance and support. And because of this, dropout rates are high. In 2016, 22% of the students registered for a 3-year degree at a public university dropped out in their first year of study. In recent discussions with several universities, it appears that these figures remain valid in 2019-2020 across both public and private learning institutes. Only 21% of students who enrolled at university in 2010 completed their 3-year degree within a 3-year period. 39% had completed their degree by the end of the 4th year, and in fact by year 6, only 56% of the students who registered in 2010 had completed their 3-year degree. So we have a very high level of dropout, and people that enroll for a 3-year degree tend to take much longer than their 3 years in order to complete their studies. And that's an issue that we need to address. Vocational training, of course, there are 117 training providers that are registered with the Council for, either with the CETA or with the Quality Council for Trades and Occupations. These courses tend to be much shorter. They tend to include both academic and practical training. And again, these courses are available through multiple stakeholders around the country. One of the problems that we've experienced with vocational training, and this is purely based on anecdotal feedback, but the training standards vary significantly between the various providers, with very little control over the assessment or evaluation of students. A report produced by the National Film and Video Foundation in 2016 found that many of the training providers report real difficulty in recruiting and retaining qualified academic staff who have suitable qualifications, as well as practical work experience. And in many instances, these vocational training providers move the recent graduates, or retain the recent graduates, to deliver training as a teaching assistant to the following cohort. Then we moved on to SACWA recognized professional designations. Actually, these are not based on a study program, so individuals that are working in industry can earn a SACWA recognized professional designation. There are currently 5 that are available to individuals working in the film and television industry, including a new designation for certified actors that was listed on the national qualification during late November. A key issue for students entering the audiovisual industry, whether through an academic or a vocational pathway, revolves around the rapid pace of change, both technologies and production techniques impacting the creation, management and distribution of audiovisual content. So many of the training providers, including universities, are training on outdated equipment, and last generation software that's simply no longer used in a real life production environment. And this makes work integrated learning and mentorship a critical factor in their learning environment. This assertion is supported by the findings of the NFVF State of Skills report published in 2016, in which graduates valued their education as providing them with theoretical knowledge, but were frustrated as they felt that there could have been more opportunities created for them to network and gain practical experience. Many of the concerns that they expressed included the vast difference between the theories that they are taught and the reality that they experience when they're working. And those realities can only be learned through exposure in the workplace. The NFVF report also highlighted a perceived gap between what the institutions deliver in terms of work readiness and what employers expect. So in this survey, it was reflected that 89% of the institutions believe that they prepare their graduates adequately for the work environment, but only 72% of the employers believe that that is the case. In fact, 72% believe that they do not prepare graduates adequately for the work environment. And this points to a real need for better ongoing communication between the institutions that are delivering training and the employers that are taking on those graduates. It also highlights the need for academics themselves to participate in a program of continuing professional development, keeping themselves up to date on the latest trends, equipment, thinking, and processes. The rapid pace of change in the film and television industry impacts all stakeholders active across content creation, management, and distribution. And this is particularly true of the fourth industrial revolution, in which technologies such as artificial intelligence, machine learning, cloud computing, and 5G connectivity are changing the way in which content is both produced and consumed. So Oleg Berezin, who's the chairman of SMPTE Russia, described the concept of the fourth industrial revolution in the film industry as more profound than a new industrial paradigm, but rather a revolution that points to the emergence of virtual, augmented, and mixed reality technologies that bring about a revolutionary change in the paradigm of production and perception of audiovisual content. He concluded his comments in an article that he published by describing how the fourth industrial revolution offers the film industry a unique chance to advance its development of the new concept of production, distribution, and consumption of movies. But in order to grasp this unique chance, he stressed that investments must be channeled into knowledge, education, competence, research, and the formation of new technological principles and concepts. So you know, the experts here are absolutely reinforcing the fact that there needs to be a significant investment in all of these things. Another factor that was identified in the NFVF State of the Skills report is that more than 75% of individuals working in the film and television industry are employed by companies with less than 9 employees. Many individuals work on a freelance basis with income dependent on several factors outside their control. And whilst higher education institutes provide access to technical and creative knowledge, most universities and colleges don't include business and entrepreneurial skills in their curriculum. So it's a requirement that industry professionals of all ages explore this as a skill set. Many people battle with the marketing and the business and the financial skills required to thrive in the audiovisual sector. Of course, there are more than 160 registered training providers offering almost 150 qualifications in the audiovisual sector at the moment. So there doesn't appear to be a shortage of options for young school leavers to earn a relevant qualification. Training in multiple disciplines at various levels and price points is readily available in every province. So wherever you're based in the country, you will have access as a young person to training programs. The greater problem seems to be with industry professionals who need to access short courses as part of a structured program of continuing professional development. While there are many non-accredited courses that are available, including several that are funded by the NFVF, these are often unstructured without clear learning outcomes. Since these courses fall outside of any learning structure envisaged within the National Qualifications Framework, they cannot lead to the award of a degree or a diploma or a certificate. Neither can they contribute to the award or maintenance of a professional designation. Non-accredited courses are often misaligned with standards and industry best practice. They lack academic rigor, and they're presented by individuals who themselves lack the qualifications, industry knowledge, and training competence to deliver real value to learners. So what can we do about this? Right? You know, we've identified the problems. Now we need to move forward. So there are a couple of things that we can do. One, at a school level, we can encourage the establishment of film clubs at schools. We can develop a career advice system for scholars that are interested in exploring a career in the film, television, and audiovisual industry. And we can embed media and film literacy within a broader arts curriculum that is delivered at schools. The good news here, as I said earlier, on the 30th of November, the Basic Education Minister, Angie Mashaka, published a curriculum policy document indicating that there was a willingness to introduce new subjects at school. The deadline for submissions to this policy document is the end of December 2020, and we will certainly be submitting a proposal that film literacy is included within the kind of the primary and secondary education curriculum. What then can we do with the universities? Really what we're saying is that we want to encourage universities and TVET colleges to develop short courses aimed at industry professionals, and we want to encourage closer collaboration between industry and training providers. We want to ensure that the knowledge that is embedded within the universities is made more available to working professionals. What can we do in terms of vocational training? We can ensure that there is common quality assessment on vocational training programs. We can collaborate with the relevant CETAs to ensure that funding is available for vocational training for self-employed individuals. And we can encourage employers to submit a workplace skills plan that allows them to fund training for employed individuals. So there are many things that can be done in terms of vocational training. What about academics and educators? Well, firstly, we want to explore and promote collaboration and knowledge sharing between local and international training providers to ensure that the local curriculum is aligned with international best practice. We want to encourage also training providers to review and expand their curriculum to reflect the impact of the fourth industrial revolution and the creative economy. We want to encourage academics to earn and maintain a professional designation related to their field of expertise, and we want to collaborate with other academics and training providers to ensure that there is the development of common standards and best practices across Africa. What does it mean in terms of industries and professional bodies? So one thing that we wanted to do here was to develop an incubator program that will fast track the development of small businesses active in the audiovisual industry. We also need to expand the number of professional designations that are currently available to include craft skills, and we want to encourage industry professionals to mentor the next generation of film and video professional. We also want to encourage employers to provide work integrated learning opportunities. We want to validate professional development courses against industry standards. We want to build the capacity of a professional body so that we can better serve the audiovisual industry. We want to implement a train the trainer program so that we can empower individuals and encourage mentorship and skills transfer in a work environment. We want to align existing funding models to support this capacity building initiative, and we want to reduce the cost of data. And the good news here, I saw yesterday that Minister Stella Ndabeni-Abrams has a KPI, a key performance indicator, in her contract of employment that requires her to reduce the cost of data by 50%. So what we're doing here is not working alone. So a number of very specific recommendations that we're putting forward that cover schools, that cover training providers delivering vocational training, that impact educational bodies, and that impact the professional body. Once we identified all of these recommendations, what we then did is put them into a matrix in which we measured them against the impact that they were likely to have in the marketplace and the urgency that was required in order to implement them. It would be very easy to say, you know, we need to implement all of these things at the same time. The reality is that that would not make sense. And the best example I could give you is that one of our recommendations was that we align existing funding models to support the capacity building initiative. Well, that's certainly something that would have a high impact if we were able to do it, but there are still not enough people that hold a professional designation for this to be a practical option. So although it's something that would have a high impact, it doesn't have a lot of urgency. And what we did is we looked at each of our recommendations, and there are 18 of them, and then applied this logic. What impact will it have on the market? How urgent is it that this task is done? And the document that was circulated before our meeting then talks about the impact and urgency of each of our recommendations. We believe that these recommendations will formally recognise the skill and competence of industry professionals working in the audiovisual industry. We believe that it will encourage expert practitioners to share their knowledge with students and graduates and young industry professionals. And we believe that these recommendations will inspire the next generation of filmmakers and storytellers. The recommendations build on existing capacity and funding structures. They're aligned with established SACWA policies on training and skills development in South Africa, and they can all be implemented in a relatively short period of time. If you have any questions, I'm very happy to answer them, not only I, but any of the other members of the committee. So please feel free to ask away. Thank you.